For today's video we're taking a look at an Enfield VS1 single-cylinder diesel stationary engine made in the UK around 1957. Enfield were better known for their bicycles and motorbikes, but they also made some small industrial engines like the VS1. There's still a tiny bit of the factory standing on the Enfield Industrial Estate in Redditch. The VS1 engine was used for many applications such as powering machinery, generators and marine applications. There's even a section on the Enfield marine gearbox in the back of the manual. My engine has a bore of 100mm and a stroke of 100mm, giving it a capacity of 785cc. Power output is 10 brake horsepower at 1800 RPM and the compression ratio is 19.5 to 1. They also made a bigger horizontal twin version of the engine known as the HO2. This engine is air-cooled. There's a big impeller on the flywheel which pumps air up this casting and through the cooling fins on the cylinder barrel, finally exiting past the fins on the other side. There's a couple of nice gauges mounted on the side of the governor housing for oil pressure and oil temperature. Intake air is filtered through an oil bath type air filter, and there would have been a little cap just here where you could pour in some ether to assist starting in cold conditions. Located above the oil filter there's a mechanical fuel lift pump which pumps the fuel up and through the fuel filter and into the injector fuel pump located above the governor assembly. From here it goes up to the injector, which is this part poking through the side of the cylinder head. Also above the oil filter is the decompressor lever, which you hold down to crank the engine up to speed for starting. And then we have the crank handle itself, which is spring-loaded so it will stay disengaged from the starter dog when not in use. These engines have a reputation of being a bit difficult to start, but generally mine is quite good. So as it's nice and cold today and there's still snow on the ground, let's give it a go. First off we'll put a bit of fuel in the tank, and then turn on the fuel tap. And then we'll check the dipstick to make sure there's enough oil in the sump, and that's about halfway, so that should do the trick. And finally, mustn't forget to release the stop-start cam. If you forget this, it definitely won't start because no fuel will be pumped up to the injector. The first attempt to start can usually be thought of as a sacrificial attempt, so it's not worth putting all your effort into that one. So hold down the decompressor and engage the crank handle and start cranking, slowly for a few turns to build up fuel pressure, and also you want to make sure you can hear the characteristic sound of the injector. In fact, if I just close the start-stop cam for a minute and crank again, if it sounds like this and you don't have the sound of the injector, something is wrong and it isn't going to start. Okay, I'll release the stop-start cam again and carry on. So, as before, I'll crank slowly for a couple of revolutions, then build up to maximum speed and release the decompressor. And as expected, it didn't start on the first attempt. And then it's just a case of doing the same thing again, although by now I don't need to wait for the fuel pressure to build up, so I can just go for it straight away. So, second attempt. And again no joy, but we're seeing plenty of puffs of smoke from partial combustion. So we'll give it another try. I would expect the engine to start on about the fourth try at today's temperature. And we have liftoff, almost literally. I really must build a better trolley soon. The engine is a bit smoky as it starts up because it's at full throttle until the governor kicks in once it's up to speed, and then it runs nice and cleanly. I've got the governor set to its minimum speed, but it's a bit fast purely for demonstration purposes, so I've got a little bit of bent brass that opposes the governor springs to slow it down a bit more. I could change the governor springs, but I want to run this engine with a generator eventually, and I'll need the higher revs for that, so I'll leave it as it is. I might make a better device to set the engine at tick over, well, one day anyway. So I'll shut up for a bit now and let the engine run for a while. There's a lot of wear in the connection between the governor linkage and the injector fuel pump. I really need to rebush that at some point, because you have to close the throttle by hand as it stands. Anyway, I think that'll do for this video. If you've enjoyed watching, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. There'll be plenty more vintage stuff coming soon. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a future video.